Alright, today we got a old school truck, typical LS deal, and it's got a, I guess, quote unquote budget turbo kit on it. A couple things are a little weird, I guess you could say. I don't know how they're gonna go, so let's take a look at it and see what we got. Alright, so first thing is we got the mass airflow sensor still on here, so we got to pull that off. Wire in got a Chinese 3-bar map sensor in there, so we'll see how well that works. I need to wire in the air temperature sensor. Apparently there's something going on with the fuel pump relay. It's working now, so something to keep an eye on. OBD2 connectors out here in the engine bay. I tuned this car a few months ago with just a cam and stuff on it. Everything went nice and smooth, so hopefully everything will continue to go that way. We got 2 wastegates. Dump tubes around, kind of interesting. I did notice that they're kind of shooting down here, like right at the tire. So we'll see how that goes. The 2 wastegates are actually wide. I don't know if you can see that. But they're wide and they just go to a single tube on the manifold or whatever you want to call that. Typical like log truck deal. UPS hopefully will be here in the next 15-20 minutes, so I can throw some injectors in it. I sourced the injectors, so we went with Injector Dynamics 1050s. I understand the budget build stuff, guys like to run some other things, but if there's one thing you're going to spend some money on these things, is just buy a nice set of injectors. Makes all the difference in the world. Fuel systems run a little bit weird. Got both the feed and the return going to the bottom of the tank. So if there's any weird issues, we'll check that out. Probably the biggest unknown here is this turbo. It's supposed to be a, I guess a GT45, which is kind of like generic terminology. But if you look at the actual spec sheet for the turbo, it's really small. It's like a, I forget what it was. It was like a 54 millimeter inducer or something. So I might pull this tube off of here and kind of roughly measure it and see. It might be way too small for the setup. So if the thing quits making power at 3,500 RPM, I might have an idea why. So I'm going to start wiring up and installing some of this stuff, and then we'll throw it on the dyno and get started. So this is what the first injector I pulled out looks like. Kind of surprising this thing runs as well as it does. Gross. That's what it should look like. I get to pull the wheels off and bolt the hubs on. Alright, so far not so good on the truck. The biggest problem is that it's leaking a ton of oil. I haven't had a chance to climb underneath and look like where it's coming from yet, but given the area, I'm gonna assume it's coming from the oil feed. You know, where they're grabbing that from off of the block. And there's some coolant on the floor, and there's some trans fluid on the floor. So we got a little bit of everything. I pulled the air intake off and measured the turbo, and it is what the paperwork says. It's a 68 millimeter, which, you know, way too small for this in my opinion. So far I have the dyno holding the car at 1500 RPM, and it's already making 6 pounds boost or something like that. So it'll be pretty interesting to you know, to see what it's going to do at higher RPM if we make it there. The fuel pump sounds completely different every time you cycle the key, so that's making me kind of nervous too. So I'm going to call it quits here for the day and let everything cool off, come in the morning, clean up the mess, investigate, hopefully fix the leaks, and then I'll try it again, and hopefully we can make a little bit more progress. But it's running good, but definitely some stuff going on. Oh, also the couple vacuum lines were not correct, and any boost it made was just pressurizing the crankcase, so that took care of that as well. So hopefully tomorrow rather, will go better than today, and we'll see what happens. Oil. Nowhere to hook the fuel pressure gauge up to, but I think I anticipated this turbo would roll over a little earlier than it is. I think the difference in the fueling was really just in the fuel table itself. So I'm going to try one more at this boost level and see what happens. I am perfectly happy with that one, so let's put this boost controller back on there. Took the boost controller off like 3 minutes ago, and I already don't know where I put it. I didn't put it anywhere. It's still bolted down. Sometimes I question how I'm still alive. I don't necessarily want to say it's already laying over, but it's, I think the assumption of as you turn the boost up, it's going to go downhill real quick is correct. But that's not bad at all. Perfectly happy with that. It's got no timing in it either. pretty rock solid, 10 pounds. It feels 11.5, 11.6. That's what it looks like with the extra boost. Probably another run or two and we'll be able to call it good here. So without a doubt my favorite part of this whole project is just how straight up and honest the customer was with his goals for it. He said he didn't need it to make a whole bunch of horsepower. He just wants it to make cool sounds and be able to do good burnouts. And I don't know, I think just that in itself is going to make this thing a ton of fun. You know, most guys come in with setup like this, they're like, I'm building a motor, I'm doing this, that, the other, I'm going to make 1,500 horsepower later, and I don't know, I'm more excited for this car just to do burnouts than some of the other high horsepower stuff. This thing should be a lot of fun. I guess before I take this thing off the dyno, I'm just going to give him a call and make sure he hasn't changed his mind on how much power he wants since the last time I talked to him. It's happened to me a few times the last few weeks, and it's kind of a mess. He didn't answer. Here's just the difference in RPM of the converter slips at 4 pounds versus 10 pounds. It's not really all that much, just the scaling makes it look like more, but it's always cool just to keep an eye on that stuff and see what's going on. Then we also have the efficiency of the converter. Doing exactly what it should do, so that's pretty cool. Alright, customer called me back. He was happy with anything over 500, and we did that nice and safe. So we're going to call it here. Ironically, just like everyone else, he did mention that he's building another motor and going to try and make some more power down the road. But this setup here will be fun for some burnouts for now anyways. What's up? Somebody walked in the door. Feels like 150 people come here every day. But anyways, I'm going to touch up some part throttle drivability stuff, and we're going to call it good here.